Story 1. D-Day was 3 weeks ago, and while not a typical story, still devastated. My wife and I have been through hell and back in the 10 years we were together before marriage. And that was what made me choose her as a partner and propose in 2020. We had the best year of our lives in 2022. Amazing wedding, reconnecting honeymoon. I'd really put work into our relationship, and it was showing. Plus, promotions and work success as we geared up for kids and house buying planning. We were flying pretty high by the end of 2022, but apparently for different reasons. We became super close friends in 2019 with a couple. The dude was from my wife's work, and we were extremely close with them and their kids. Once his wife became pregnant with a surprise kid over COVID, my wife and him became really close, texting all the time, more touchy-feely than I liked, and hanging out on their own. Her being overly concerned with his well-being when we were on trips together, etc. To my knowledge, my wife has never had an affair, and we'd been explicit in our monogamy over our 13 years together, always trusted her, and we were doing so well. I walked in on them about to have sex at a party after everyone else had gone to sleep. Everyone was sober at this point in the night, and she'd insisted we stay over. She left our spare room bed and planned to meet him downstairs as we'd stayed over at their house. I left, kicked her out immediately, and forced a 72 hours hold on communication because I was worried I'd do something terrible. AP told other betrayed spouse, and she did the same to him. Later that week, found out from other betrayed spouse that she'd subsequently learned this has been going on for 1.5 years, long before we got married. Multiple instances of hooking up that made it clear this was way more than just friendship that made a mistake. He's one of my closest friends, on top of it all, and apparently justified to his wife that since I had told him I was happy my wife had a close friendship, that was implied consent for an affair. Insane. I'm beyond devastated. It's been a couple weeks now, and I'm all the things you guys have felt. I kicked her out. Weeks of drinking, crying, smashing our SHT, and lots of therapy. For what it's worth, she seems genuine remorseful, took full responsibility, didn't gaslight me, and has been honest with our friends and hates herself for what she's done. But the fact this went on for so long, it's not like she admitted it. I had to be traumatized by catching them. Makes me feel like it's crocodile tears. After endless soul searching and feeling like I need to make a decision, I'm going to tell her I want a separation, and that she needs to move out for the foreseeable future. I don't see a way we get through this, but I know that she needs to face her own demons, and it's been hard to admit this has nothing to do with me or even us. She has work to do on herself, and I can't be here for it. Maybe one day something will rise from the ashes, but our relationship is destroyed. I don't see her as a partner anymore. I don't know what I'm asking, still in shock and can't really think about reconciliation. I'm so exhausted right now, I just feel like I need to protect what sanity I have left and focus on finding some moments of joy for myself. Edited with a few of the acronyms and timeline. Throwaway for obvious reasons. Reader comment. Until she comes completely clean, there is no hope of reconciliation and recovery. I would go to a lawyer and begin the process of termination of the relationship. Inform her that everything is on her to save the marriage. She wrecked it. It's her job to fix it. And no, that doesn't mean love bombing. It means a serious, complete, and total commitment to you and the marriage. It means she will have to dig down deep and figure out what you need. You aren't going to tell her what you need. She needs to figure it out. She needs to enter individual counseling in addition to all this. She needs to break with the AP, firmly and completely. He is to never darken your door or her thoughts again. It's up to her. If she can do it, then she needs to be honest, and if she has any love for you at all, let you go and find someone who deserves you. Original poster, according to my friends. She started IC and agreed to cut contact with him when I talked to her 2 weeks ago. I'm not defending her, and no idea if she's going to stick with any of it. And I don't think R can happen in the short, medium term regardless. Reader comment. Taking a quote from you, for what it's worth, she seems genuine remorseful, took full responsibility, didn't gaslight me, and has greater than been honest greater than with our friends, and hates herself for what she's done. As she claims to have never had sex with a guy she was about to screw under the same roof as you. Under the same roof as his wife and their infant. They've had sex lots of times. She betrayed 2 people close to her, as did he. I'm glad you're moving on and choosing yourself. Original poster. I edited the post. I honestly didn't ask her for details. I couldn't hear it, and it's just not important anyway. Just said she took responsibility for the harm she's done, not necessarily for who she is that made her that way. I would bet she doesn't have the EQ to face those demons, but hope she does, one day. Reader comment. She was not the person you thought you married. You don't know her. No normal person could do what she did. She took selfish, entitled, deceitful, and zero empathy to a whole new level. I suggest implementing divorce. Love is not a solid reason to tolerate or remain in an emotionally abusive relationship. Distance yourself. Ghost and block her. Every contact or text exchange will set you back to DD. Original poster. I don't know if my wife is still lying. I honestly haven't asked her for more details. I couldn't handle it on our first meeting, and it's not like she can deny it. I walked in on it. I told her logistics only convo for now, but just dreading the next convo where she's gotta move out and the love bombing insanity that is going to come. I was absolutely effed for 48 hours after our first talk. Worse than walking in on them. Story 2. Wife lies and affairs of 20 years. You never respected me enough or thought I could cut someone out of my life, and you never respected my boundaries when I drew the line. I think because I let my love for you blind me with the obvious something never felt right with you caring to help and support your relationship with me. The only time I set up a boundary was against my father, and I taught him and you that I can be pushed to a point. Unfortunately for me, you were already carrying a secret bigger than our whole relationship, a lie, and your own demons that you never allowed to disclose or communicate to me because you didn't value or respect our relationship together. So instead you manipulated me and continued for many years to shut off a healthy bond with distrust and lack of empathy for my needs and a choice. You took my options of choices throughout our whole relationship because of your greed and selfishness, making it just about what you want and how you are perceived. You made me feel like I was crazy, and my feelings and accusations of your affair were not warranted. You left me standing with all the emotions that I didn't know who to talk to, cause you made me feel like I was losing my mind. This was the only way you chose to be with me. You never allowed me to choose if I wanted to be in a relationship with a woman who lied to me for 21 years on her infidelity. An affair. You took my gift of children and my hope of raising them with you, and you slept next to me nightly, abusing me daily with your knowledge of using your secret to try and break me once you chose to leave me. You only disclosed your affair once you had used me all up and I was getting close to finding out without you. Otherwise, I truly don't think you would have ever respected me enough and loved me enough to let me know the truth. There is no word on this earth that I can use to describe your actions and sabotage to everyone you have lied to and used to make your perception and own demons feel satisfied, to stroking your ego daily and thinking that you held the power which made you feel like you controlled your destiny. Once I came to the realization that everything we had is because without me to use or to make children with you or to stroke your ego and self-worth, I realized that everything you had was because of my love for you, which means I can say thank you. I have no hate, just pity and sadness for a person I once loved. And I feel like I should have seen the signs, but again, I never in my wildest nightmares would have guessed that I was actually sleeping with the enemy. Now with this in my rearview mirror, I can learn to trust and love again in my future relationship, and I can walk away with my head up high and proud to know that I am a very intelligent and valued human and sought out by many as friends and possible lovers, because I do bring worth and value. I do bring real love and experiences that I share. With this said, my only regret is that I now have to raise children with you, and I fear of all your insecurities and deceptions and lack of trust and empathy may spill onto our wonderful daughters. In the end, I'm not very religious, but I'm gonna ask God for one thing, and that's to keep my daughters protected from the emotional demons and deception living at your parents' house. The secrets and lies to be reflected away from my children so they can love and live life like respectable women when they grow up. This is the end of us. I never wanted to be your friend, and now I'm ashamed that I once called you my lover. I'm removing all the power I once gave you and taking it back and claiming it for myself to give to my children and the true, honest, and wonderful people that I encounter in my journey throughout the rest of my life. I hope you really find happiness, but in order to do that you have a mountain to climb and hills and rivers to cross in your journey. And you haven't even left the house. Good luck and God bless, for a prayer on your behalf is going to be needed. From the one you never gave a chance, a choice, a care for. Born 1980, Resurrection 2023, died 2022, loving wife daily. Reader comment: you are cursing her and praising yourself all the way. But I don't think such a weak man couldn't be a decent man at all. He shouldn't let her disrespect him second time. This weakness is main reason all this madness. He had no balls to leave from beginning. He was putting up with every mistake his wife made and somehow making up logical reasons. I only hope you got their paternity of full custody. You got everything going for you. Story 3. Caught my GF cheating. How do I learn to trust again for future relationships? Edit. To everyone saying I caused this by making her go off her meds, I did not force her to do anything. When she told me she wanted to come off, I supported her. She made her own decisions. She should know what she should and shouldn't do with her medication. After the first time, I told her she shouldn't do it again, and she did it again without telling me, saying I am to blame for her SHTTY actions is ludicrous. She was a serial cheater in her marriage. This is a repeated behavioral pattern. I now know that a doctor is needed for this. I had no idea about SSRIs at all before I met her. She made her own decisions. Long story, but I met this girl 15 months ago. We ended up becoming exclusive about 6 weeks in. At first, she seemed amazing. We had so much in common, from what we wear to how we live, work out, etc. I fell for her hard. Then the red flags started showing up, and I ignored them at first, but they always sat in the back of my mind. The first few times I met her, she told me how both of her parents deleted themselves and she has no family. Then she told me about her SHTTY past relationships and how she got divorced last year and he was a boss. About 3 months in, she told me she wanted to come off her SSRIs, so I supported her decision. She ended up spiraling out of control, was irritable about everything, cold, numb, told me she couldn't feel much. It was very hard. We got into a big fight shortly after, almost over nothing. I think it was her imbalanced neurochemicals that really drove this fight. That night after the fight, she had a wedding and I decided to give her space. I went to a bar by her place with some friends where I caught her at a bar after the wedding with a guy. When she saw me, she looked like she saw a ghost. Guilty AF. I texted her really X, to which she replied, "Yeah, nice to see you out and not tell me." I was furious. I went home and sent a breakup text saying I know a cheater when I see one and that I'm not investing any more time, money, or energy into her. Over the next few days, I really started missing her and reached out to her. We ended up reconciling and she told me that she went to meet up with some people from the apartment complex after the wedding. I believed her and forgave and told her I'm looking for a life partner I can trust with my life, to which she agreed. I told her there will be not second chance if something like that happens again and she needs to avoid situations like that look bad. Things got much better for the next few months. We became much stronger, I think in part because she finally adjusted to her tapering. Fast forward a couple of months and I find out she's pregnant. I said WTF how, because I don't ever remember finishing inside. She got livid for me asking that. Her hormones were all over the place during the termination I paid for. It got very rocky. After the removal was over, she told me she also started tapering during the termination even more, and I got pissed as to why she would not tell me that. This is a partnership and I need to know stuff like this that affects us. She wanted me to move in because I was going to move to her apartment complex with a friend before I met her. I said maybe it's not a good idea and we should wait, but she persisted, saying we'd save money and always be hanging out anyways. Stupidly, I moved in, and it was good for a week, but then everything I did annoyed her. I couldn't even ask simple questions like if she's eaten at a certain restaurant without her getting offended. She was just miserable all around, and this is what leads me to believe she's bipolar and taking SSRIs for that and not depression like she originally said. Around Christmas, I noticed her acting sketchy. I saw a text pop up on her phone driving home from my parents on Christmas and asked her about it, and she got very nervous. A couple days later, we had been fighting a lot, and I said to her maybe we need to accept the fact that we aren't compatible, which really upset her. I was giving her the option for us to split, and she wouldn't take it because I was miserable and at my wit's end. I was exhausted dating her. The highs were amazing, but the lows were horrible, which I think are her depressive stages of bipolar, and it's when she's depressed that she needs validation from other guys and cheats. I noticed. The day before I dumped her, she went to a bar with a friend on Thursday, and I got mad when she didn't text me till almost 10. She of course flipped it on me, saying I should have asked her where she was instead of getting mad, and made me feel horrible about getting upset about that. After that fight, she slept on the couch that night, and this is where she first started texting her ex-husband that I am aware of. That next day she had planned on taking me on a date. We had a talk before the date. I laid it on the table that I can move out and we can work on the relationship, or we can split, and asked her what she wanted to do. She didn't say much of anything. We ended up going on that date. Everything seemed awesome. I made her cry with a lovey speech I gave her about how I know things have been hard, but we can work on this, and I want us to be together. We get home and she passes out drunk. I couldn't find my phone, so I grab hers to use the flashlight and decide to open her messages. The first thread is from her ex-husband talking about how she misses him, and I gaslight her and make her feel worthless. Then the SX talk, and she was texting him during our date. Now I am not perfect, but I was far from horrible to her. I did so much for her, and it was never enough. After I found those messages, I screenshotted them and sent them to myself and deleted them, and then took my dogs and slept at my friend's without telling her. I wake up to an old SX video being sent to her from my text messages with a girl from years ago that I guess I forgot about. She had gone into my iPad and sent it to herself to try and find dirt on me. Stuff like this blows my mind because she was always very insecure about girls I had a past with, and I found it very unattractive because I was always very secure. I guess I just don't understand how cheaters are so worried about getting cheated on and know how much it would destroy them, and yet they are doing just that. It makes me think they are very poorly developed adults, basically still at the emotional level of a teenager. I drive back to the apartment to make her delete the video. It's 6 a.m. and she's just lying in bed watching Netflix with this disgusting look on her face like she's been busted. She doesn't say anything. I said, "Do you really not have anything to say?" To which she replies, "What do you want me to do? Beg for you back?" I said, "Holy SHT, how about an apology like a normal person?" I then proceeded to tell her ex-husband's girlfriend who he was cheating on with her and is 1 week out from having his baby. She thanks me profusely, then calls me and tells me all about my ex, how she's a serial cheater and cheated her whole marriage with multiple guys. At this point I am so disgusted that I even dated a person like that. I tell her I know everything, and she just continues to lie. And I am just so embarrassed about who she is as a person and how poorly she's handling this. She continues to try and flip it on me. I tell her I'm moving the out but not when and that I need time. For the next few days, she is a complete coming home late like she's going out even though she has no friends, and slamming doors to wake me up to let me know she's getting back so late, hiding stuff that I use when she knows I don't have most of my stuff unpacked from my old house yet. I told her to stop acting like a child till I leave, but of course she doesn't. She even hacked my Instagram and accepted her own follow request after she decided to unfollow me. I told her I need 2 weeks to stay to find a new place. As soon as she left for work, I grabbed my new keys, had my 2 friends move my stuff into the apartment directly above her. She sold her bed to my friend, and we were sleeping in mine, so when I left, she came back to no bed and a pretty empty apartment. This is what confuses me. It's like she had no plan and was living day to day. Why would she ask me to move in and sell her bed and then cheat 3 weeks later? At this point, I can't believe I dated such a childish person and am embarrassed about it. I have now been moved out for 2 weeks and have had good days and bad days. My mind constantly races thinking she probably had sex with a few guys when she dated me too and is just lying about it. It keeps me up at night sometimes and I hate it. When I asked her if I need to get tested, she replied with, "Do I need to get tested?" to which I laughed profusely. I also don't even think the baby was mine anymore. She said the baby was 6 weeks old, and I did some digging, and she was on a work retreat 6 weeks prior. She said I probably got her pregnant after a show we went to that was only 4 weeks prior. I'm not sure how accurate they are with how old the fetus is. I think she had been going through my phone for a while, reading messages to my friends about how I was frustrated with the relationship and not sure if it was going to work, and I think that might have made her insecure and why the last few weeks were so bad. She didn't feel secure in the relationship or safe with me, and she kept saying that. She probably felt like I was going to leave her, when in actuality she was self-sabotaging the relationship by being insecure, literally causing her own demise. Within that one day she ruined our relationship. Her ex-husband blocked her and won't talk to her again. All of my friends that became her friend won't talk to her ever again. My family won't talk to her, and she has no family of her own. It brings me joy knowing she has no one after I found out how SHTTY she is. I imagine this is much harder for her than it is for me, considering she lost way more while I gained independence. My own apartment and all my friends and family have been here for me, while the only people that I imagine are few and far between, and of course only because she painted me as the bad guy. It really just sucks to see a person you once thought so highly of repeat their past mistakes that got her into a horrible situation like she didn't learn and never will. I'm just astonished she was willing to risk so much. She finally had a decent life and friends here, and she threw it all away with nothing to show for it. I want to recover from this and be stronger, but I worry I am going to have trust issues. I am so disappointed in who she turned out to be. She presented herself as someone with much better morals than she actually has. It was like as soon as she was caught, her mask came off and I saw the real her, and it was hideous. I told her I was disgusted I even dated her, and this is why she's divorced and has no friends. I felt violated letting someone like that into my life and introducing her to my friends and family. I don't want to have trust issues in my future relationships. I have always felt secure in my relationships and never felt the need to go through a girl's phone until this one. I imagine most girls aren't this manipulative and deceptive, but right now I know I would have trust issues. I just want to get back to my confident, trusting, loving self. It sucks to see such a SHTTY person can do this to someone with a good heart. Everything felt like a lie. I know I am way better off without her. I dodged a massive bullet and got out much cleaner and quicker than her ex-husband. It's the cheating that is bothering me the most. I feel like she did way more than I know of, and I'm mad at myself for not listening to the red flags and not finding out sooner, and not knowing the full truth bothers me. I'm also disgusted that there's people out there that feel the need to cheat as soon as the relationship gets rocky. Clearly, she needed validation from other guys due to her own insecurities, and it sucks to see that that's who she is because I thought so much higher of her, and I am extremely disappointed. I have begun moving on but just needed to vent. Thank you to anyone who reads my story. I hope I can look back at this post in a year and laugh about this similar to how I do with another SHTTYX I have. If anyone has any advice or tips, I would love to hear them. As of now, I have been working out religiously, decided to quit drinking and many other bad habits. I have been making new friends at my new complex too, which I find funny because she has not been able to make any friends here despite living here for a year. Reader comment, I read as long as I possibly could. Dude, you need to learn the basics of how women's bodies work. A 6-week pregnancy does not mean you had sex 6 weeks ago, for the love of God. They measure pregnancy time from the last period. Women ovulate between 1 and 3 weeks after their period. You can very easily get pregnant despite using the pull-out method. Unless you are a psychiatrist, you have no business giving medication advice to someone you just met. Honestly, you come off as extremely immature, and I don't think you are in a place in life to be dating or having sex with women. Best of luck to you. Original poster. Not sure how me not fully knowing the timeline of pregnancies makes me extremely immature, but okay. Is that all you took away from a story about a narcissistic serial cheater? Reader comment, why did you ever tell her to go off her medicine? You are not a doctor. Maybe being on this medicine was stopping her from cheating. By you doing it, you might have caused this whole problem. Antidepressants do work and can be a major help for people. Okay, then don't take the blame if you want, but you should never go off that type of medicine without being monitored by a doctor. People need to be strongly encouraged to keep taking those medicines. Original poster, yes, I am to blame for her SHTTY behavior for the past 8 years. This is insane. She is an adult and needs to know what she should and shouldn't do with her medication. She told me she wanted to get off, so I supported her. After the first time, I told her I don't think she should do it again, and she did it again without telling me. Reader comment, it sounds like she handed over every red flag in the book on a silver platter and you kept going anyway. I've been there too. Just cut things off early next time if you sense someone might be untrustworthy. Be wary of trauma dumping, excessive SHT talking about exes, and love bombing. All classic traits of the narcissist. Original poster, yes, I did. I didn't want to believe she was a narcissist. I didn't think she had it in her, but boy was I wrong. Thankfully, I learned a lot and actually gained a lot from the relationship, surprisingly, so I don't